All right, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton, and I want to thank you for joining me once again on a Good Friday. I'm coming at you, Lions Talk Live. Got a little bit of speculation. I know I mentioned it in one of the earlier shows today. I get it's been rumored, talked about ad nauseum. Man, I want to say since the end of right before the last trade deadline, I want to say Emmanuel Mosley went down, and then rumors began to surface across YouTube, Timbuktu, every form of media out there. I know I reported it a few times that the Lions and Broncos had conversations about what you're seeing on the thumbnail and on your screen, that Patrick Surtain potentially becoming Detroit Lions. I know a lot of other outlets reported as well, and then obviously it didn't happen before the trade deadline. Now this offseason, we're getting stuff, and you've seen it, I'm sure, all week long about the Detroit Lions engaging in potential trade talks with the Denver Broncos about acquiring the all-world cornerback Patrick Surtain II. I'm going to say this. I look at this, and here's what I got. I got some detailed information about what the potential trade might be. And I'll read that off to you here in just a second. Let me pull it up. I got to get into the forum and such, and talk. But I want to reiterate this, because I always get, whenever I get any kind of information, I report it, or if I happen to be the first one out there, you guys all know it. If you watch media for a while, somebody's going to jump up and say, well, 3 months from now, you said they were talking, so that means a trade must happen. I'm going to reiterate it for anybody who maybe is newer to sports. Just because somebody goes looking at a car and kicks the tires doesn't mean they always buy the car. What I'm going to give you guys is just the news that I get from people that I trust that still work in Detroit media on a full-time basis. Pass it on to you guys. Let you guys do with it as you may. And again, I get everybody's been talking about it all week. I just happen to get some information of what the potential trade might be as far as the values. That's what I'm going to dive into today. If you have real quick though, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. About 80 subs away from hitting 6,300. If you'd be able to help out with that, that'd be great. Also hit the thumbs up button if you enjoy the content. All right, just got done with the earlier video about Brock right now. As I promised, I would talk to you guys about this. All right, I can confirm from a few different sources that Brad Holmes and the Denver Broncos talked multiple times this week. It is believed to be centered around Patrick Surtain, who still has a couple of seasons left on his rookie deal. We all get that part. So the cap hit for the Lions, if they were to acquire him, would be fairly minimal for a while. All right, here's what it would be. And I get this is where fans are going to probably blow up. All right, the report is the Lions would be giving up pick 29, pick 61, and 73 from this year. So basically your first 3 picks in the draft to acquire Surtain. In return, the Lions are said to get the cornerback, plus they would get pick 76. So they'd move down 3 spots and pick 145 this year, plus a 6th round pick in 2025. So, if you've studied Brad Holmes when he makes trades, usually if he makes trades, this would be fairly consistent with that. He likes to give up capital, but also get lower round picks in return. So in essence, you might give up 3 picks, but you still retain 3 picks. I'm not here to say this is going to happen. I'm not going to say I agree with it. I'm not going to say it's a great trade, a bad trade, anything like that if it goes down. I'm just here to report what I can confirm happened this week. What I can confirm is both parties, both teams talked multiple times. You're probably also definitely aware the Denver Broncos have talked to everybody other than my mom about potentially trading Patrick Surtain. I did confirm with my mom she has not received a phone call for them from the Denver Broncos. So what I can say is it seems like there's a lot of people in Denver in the front office that are trying to acquire draft capital. They're trying to rebuild their team. Probably my guess is, coach said, hey, Peyton came in and said, hey, this is going to take a bit more than he originally anticipated to get this team where it needs to go. That's why Russell Wilson's not there anymore. They're going to eat that money. We all get that part to death. So if I'm them, yeah, I probably do want to try to ship off some parts and try to get more value from it, because we're all grossly aware cornerbacks, wide receivers, running backs, their shelf life just isn't as long as some other parts of the team. Unless you're a quarterback, really, you start getting up there, the window starts closing quickly, and we could see that, 2-3 years ago, Aaron Donald might have been the best defensive player in the league. This past year, just a year or two after that, it's not that he wasn't good anymore. He's just no longer that dude. And you get it. The tread comes off the tire real quick in the NFL, unlike most other sports. So let's see what you guys have to think about this. I mean, if they did it, I wouldn't fault them. I mean, are you going to get a cornerback of his caliber in the draft? Probably not. Are you still going to be able to keep the same amount of draft picks? Yes. Do you get to sort of free up some cap space a little bit, I guess? I would say this, we all get Aaron Glenn's probably under the gun a little bit this year that, man, if he can get that defense to top 10, top, 8 or so in the league, along with that offense, this team's got a real good chance, not just to win the NFC North, but to get the number 1 seed and potentially, as we're all probably hard to still for me to say as a Lions fan, having been through the last 50 years, potentially a Super Bowl. So let's see what you guys have to say about it and go from there. All right, Eddie, greetings and salutations. Busy night, Coach. Hey, I love to work, man. So there's no question about that. And Jen's not going to be back for about another hour, so why not do the grind? All right, Walt, woo! Exclamation points. That would be awesome. Say it will happen. I'm not going to say it will or won't. I'm just here to tell you the details as they've been relayed to me. And again, this is all speculation. This is rumors. Again, I'm going to reiterate for some of the people that are going to come after me with pitchforks. Somebody talks to somebody about buying a house doesn't mean they buy the house. It means they negotiate things and go from there. They could potentially buy the house. They could potentially not buy the house. You get it. All right, France, if we get him, our defense would be lights out. Kirby, Iffy, Branch, Davis, Surtain. Damn. Yeah, I mean, that secondary is great. And you think about as much blitzing out of man-to-man schemes that Aaron Glenn really prefers to doing. You remember when we were 1-5, 1-6 or whatever, and then 2 seasons ago, we went, we switched up the defenses. We basically went man across the board. We're going to send more than you can block. We're going to live with it, hell or high water. Whatever happens, happens. We're going to do that because we just do not have the personnel to just let you dink and dunk down the field. And if you're going to continue with that, which later in the year, probably with the Denver game, that's what we went back to because the defense was just underperforming. From that Denver game forward throughout the rest of the year, that's what we went through. And it quite literally nearly got us to the Super Bowl. Vildor holds on to that face shield pass. Sutton holds on to 2 different pick opportunities. We're in the Super Bowl. And from there, who knows? Maybe we win the thing. But I think this is where he wants to go. It seems to be what Aaron Glenn feels most comfortable with. And to be honest, when he's gone with it for the Detroit Lions, that defense has looked pretty legit. You're saying, hey, we can't stop everything. We're going to stop some things from you. And you know what? We're going to put your quarterback in a position where he's constantly under duress, having to make very accurate throws. And if you're a little bit off, we've got the ball. So see what shakes. All right, Walt, awesome to got to be live twice today, Coach. Hey, glad you're here, man. Glad you're always part of the Duke crew. And you know what? Thanks for tuning in, man. Darce, we could blitz every play if we get him. I agree. I mean, you think about, you guys all know me. I'm a James Houston homer. I think the dude is great, and this would fit him to a T. We got a lot of guys up front, the front 7, that can help stop the run. Now you're talking about blitzing more and more, and, Betts comes into play. When I've done my evaluations on him, and you guys have heard it for whatever, it's been a month, 6 weeks now, I'm not sure if he'd be great in one-on-one situations a lot of the time where you're dropping 6-7 dudes into coverage and saying, hey, front 4, go get them. I just don't see the bend out of him. I don't see the flexibility, especially from the waist down. I don't see it in the knees down, nor the ankles, and I don't see enough polished moves out of him. So what I do see out of him is, I'm not going to say he's Houston because he's not, but what both of them can do is if, Houston can beat somebody one-on-one. Betts, though, if you use him on pulls or stunts, things of that sort, I think that's where he could really supersede and do quite well. Same with Jack Campbell and a number of other guys out of the linebacker position. So with that being said, with that secondary, if you were to go after it, I think you're going to see the Detroit Lions become the closest thing to Blitzburg that the NFL has seen, I guess, since the 90s, and I think they'd be all in it every play, just trying to make it hell on the opposing offensive coordinator and quarterback. And you look at our division, you're going to have to get to Jordan Love, whoever the rookie quarterbacks are for Minnesota or Chicago. I think we probably know who they're going to be, but you're going to make life very difficult for them their rookie year. And you know what? you're going to impose your will on a lot of opposing offenses. All right, Dean, what do you got? Dan does not take days off. I'm wondering if he takes hours off. Not many, man. I get bored real easy. Keith, though, I would faint if Brad does this. Yeah, all that verbiage. Yes, I would agree. It doesn't seem like something I would anticipate he'd be doing, but I know we've talked for about a week straight now about the NFL draft in the Detroit Lions. Look how many picks they have. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I just don't see where you're going to be able to keep 7 guys. And that's me just trying to be as open-minded to every possibility as possible. If you draft 7 guys, look at how stacked this team already is. Can you fit 7 guys on there? Whoever you draft is going to then, if you're not on the 53-man roster, they're going to have to go on the practice squad. And I got to imagine everybody in this league, looking at how well Brad Holmes has done in the draft for the past 3 years, is not going to let those guys sit on the practice squad very long. They'll be gobbled up in no time. So I know a few of you guys have mentioned it. I know we've talked about it. I've mentioned it. I think the Detroit Lions are potentially going to make either trade up in the draft in the first and second round, or you've got to do something to get picks for the future. So 2025, 26, because I just don't see, unless you're going to cut a ton of good dudes or hang them out on the practice squad where they're going to be gobbled up, where you can keep 7 guys. To me, I mean, that would be a real stroke of brilliance if they can do that. Bill, what's the cost if we do this? I think you heard me say it earlier, but if not, here it is again. Hold on, I got to open up the thing again. All right. Lions would give a pick 29, 61, 73. Lions would get Surtain plus 76, so they would move down in the third round 3 spots, although I think that actually puts you in the 4th round. Somebody else has to confirm that. I don't know off the top of my head. And so you get 76 and 145 this year, plus Denver's 6th rounder in 2025. So I get from Denver's standpoint, hey, you want more draft capital, you want more first-round picks, second-round picks, etc. My only question is, man, with the draft picks you'd have left this year, I think you basically have to focus on offensive line development, defensive line development, and go from there. All right, Marcus, I doubt you will find a corner in the draft as good as this guy. No, I agree. I will say this, I think he is phenomenal in man-to-man principles and being able to close on the pass. So somebody throws a pass, he can close the gap, break on the pass, look at the wingspan. He fits a lot like Davis III in that regard. I think Davis III is better at playing the run, although to be fair, I've watched more film on him after the trade than I have Patrick Surtain, and anything I did watch on him would have been 5 months ago or whatever, right before the trade deadline. So don't hold me to that. I'm going off the top of my noggin. If this goes down, I'll do a deeper dive on him and look at the mechanicals. I'll, watch his elbow movement, his knee movement to see how quick he gets in and out and breaks. But I will say this, I do think he's phenomenal in man-to-man coverage against the run. You probably, he isn't horrible. I just think Davis is better, but yeah, I think you're kind of splitting hairs at that point. All right, Keith, let's freaking go. 100% with that. 100% with that. If this goes down, man, it would be quick. I'd want to see, and you guys who know more about gambling and all that stuff, I'd be asking you guys, if this goes down, because again, it's just speculation, rumor, people kicking tires, yada, yada, yada. How quickly does Vegas respond to the odds for the Lions potentially winning the Super Bowl? And I would have to ask somebody else who knows more about that jazz than I do, how big of a change that would be. I think it would have to be huge, because I think at that point, the NFC North, you are the favorite. And you're probably, if you're not the favorite in the NFC overall, you've got to be no lower than number 2, I would think, because we're already incredibly stacked. This would just mean that secondary would be, I'm not going to say it's Legion of Boom, but it'd be pretty damn good. It'd be probably the closest thing to the 85 Bears that I've seen in a while. And if you guys aren't old enough to know that, go watch some video on them. Robert G. Oh, yeah, exclamation points. That would be nice. 100%, man. Jessica, what do you got? Pretty please. I'll do everything I can with sugar on top. Keitho, with a cherry on top. There you go. Trey, now this is a move that will make the team a legit contender. I agree, man, because you look at that defense, unless you're just going to, again, to me, the biggest problem is you've got so many draft picks. How do you convert some into guaranteed spots this year? And maybe, okay, you get the, whatever it was, the 6th round pick in 2025 or whatever. Great. Now you can defer some of them to next year. because I just don't see, man. And Trey, you let me know what your thoughts. I think you got a real good eye for football and stuff, man. If you're Brad Holmes, you just keep where you're at. You keep those 7 picks. How do you keep them all on the team? Who are you going to cut from this team? I mean, obviously they're going to have to cut some people, but on those 53-man roster, are you going to be able to keep 7 dudes? I don't think so. And you can't keep them on the practice squad because they'll get stolen. So, yeah, I don't know, man. To me, this is one of the better situations I've seen, unless they're just going to do a trade up in the first round and second round, try to turn 7 picks into, 3 stud picks or whatever, 3 impact picks. That's the only other route I see shaking out with this year's draft and the 7 picks we currently have. Keitho, can you imagine no-fly zone for sure? Yeah, I got to. And you look at some of the quarterbacks we're going to face next year, and there's going to be some that are going to be younger, less experienced. I think, man, the Lions could make it hell on some of those guys. And, not trying to, wish bad on anybody, but, man, the Detroit Lions, I mean, that might just be somebody put in the morning show earlier today, Lions are going to hang 60 on somebody. I don't remember who they said, but I can see that happening with this offense. And now that they're getting more experience, and Jameson Williams, Gibbs, Laporta, St. Brown, yada yada, Donovan Peoples-Jones. I mean, you're gonna have some high scoring games like we did last year. But now if the defense can get takeaways, 3 and outs a lot more, man, that offense just has more opportunities to score. Could you see the Lions start scoring 30 or 40 points a game? Maybe even 60. Man, that'd almost be like rubbing it in on somebody, though, if you do that. All right, one funky. I know. So I know we've talked to them, but do you know for a fact it's about Surtain and not someone else like Nick Bonto? Yes, I can confirm from the multiple different people I chatted with. They all said it was about Surtain. And again, I get Denver is talking to literally, it seems like every team in the league about him. I think they're doing their due diligence. If for them, it's not going to be one player that makes or break them. They need dudes. They need bodies. So they need more draft picks in order to correct that. The Rams last year saved themselves a lot of headaches and probably sped up their rebuild just because they hit on so many late round guys. Is that going to happen to every team? No. So that's why I think if I'm Denver, it makes sense, because 2 years from now, I'm going to have to pay this dude. And if we're still rebuilding, am I going to want to repay him, knowing that he's probably got 3 years left of real legit upside before he starts, unfortunately declining. All right, let's see. Hey, man, but how much would it cost us, both with draft picks and money? Well, the money you've got 2 more years of, fairly decent lower costs. I mean, the 5th year would still be pricey, but not over the top. And you've already heard me, I'm sure by now, talk about the draft picks or at least proposed trade, the conversation. It would stink to give up your first, your second, your third, but you're more or less only moving down 3 spots with the 3rd round pick. So I'd say that's it's a wash to me. You're not really losing that pick. So really it's you give him a first and a second, you get him, and then you get some chump change at the end, of whatever it is, a 5th round pick, and then a 6th round pick next year. So it is what it is. Robert G, in your opinion, Coach, ? What's the chances of this happening? To me, Robert, if I'm Denver right now, I'm talking to probably, we'll just say 12 teams right now about this. And I want to get 12 down to 5. Hey, these guys aren't going up. They're not going to offer more. Let's move them out of the conversation. They're out of here. Now I want to get that 4 or 5 teams to say, hey, I like your deal, but there's another GM who's offering maybe just a little bit more. So now maybe I've got to look back and go, man, how bad do I want this guy? And that's where you, as a general manager, that's your job. You want people to now make emotional choices, not logical choices. It's easy to use logic when it's only one person bidding. But I don't know Denver's general manager's name, so I'm not even going to worry about it. But I'm going to say if I'm that person and I've got that 12, I've now got 5 people that I feel like are on the hook emotionally. I'm trying to play them against each other. Hey, I think I like your deal, but maybe, that 3rd rounder you're offering this year, what if we win a 2nd rounder next year? So your 1st, your 2nd this year, and now a 2nd rounder next year. You know what? If you do that for me, you know what I'll do? That 6th rounder I was giving you in 2025, why don't we make that a 4th rounder? And you probably get somebody to bite, man. And that's That's where I think it ultimately comes down to. Who can you get to give you the best offer? And that's where I think Brad Holmes, he doesn't seem like somebody who's going to be, making emotional decisions. That just doesn't seem his manner. That's why we call him, Dollar General Brad and all that stuff. Maybe, maybe with this year's free agency class, we can upgrade him to Target General Brad or whatever. Commodore Target Brad Holmes or whatever. I don't know, man. I'll let you guys worry about that part. But I think, Robert, to answer your question, I'd say right now there's about a 50% chance. And for me, talking about Brad Holmes, I think that's pretty high. I think he's aware, if you look at what they did this year in free agency, that's the most he's ever spent in free agency. And he's made some really great choices. And you guys have your own debates on it, but I just think, man, you look at what he's done to the secondary, and you know that you're going to get Cam Sutton's contract back. I mean, it at least defers a little bit of what you're going to have to pay him. I don't know, man. I'm going to go with 50-50 right now. But if this rumor sticks around for another week or two as we're closing in on the draft, I mean, it might be more and more likely at that point, especially if it happens on draft day, because the Lions, maybe there's somebody they wanted to get in the first round or whatever that kind of slides down and then somebody else snags them. Maybe you're like, man, all right, let's pull the trigger because the guy we could have lived with if we could have taken him in the first round, isn't there. So now we're going to go for Surtain. So I think we're going to have to pay attention to that. And sorry for the long-worded answer. All right, Brent, prayers. Okay, got that. All right, that would make us a, quote, no-fly zone, end quote, for sure, exclamation point. Hope it happens, exclamation point. Let's go Lions, 100%, man. And, I'm not really sure if you – like I said, you can't keep 7 picks, in my opinion. So if you don't make this trade or another trade, I know that we wanted the Eagles, or that was reported we wanted the Eagles guy, but he got traded today to the Jets. So, obviously that's off the board. But I'm going to say if they don't do this, then I would be 90% on board with, or at least anticipating the Lions are going to trade up in the first round or the second round, etc. Because I just don't see any way you're keeping 7 picks. Hader's house, move up for Latua. Yeah, he'd be one of the ones. There's a couple of guys I think they might potentially, if this doesn't go down, he move up in the first round and maybe even in the second round to try to acquire a couple people. All right, Michael, let's go Lions, 100%. Back at you. Hopefully having a great day, Michael. Jay, why do we need a cornerback? LOL. That I can't answer, man. Unless, let's play it out. Emmanuel Mosley, I get, he's been injured. He's great if he ends up happening. If not, it doesn't really, hurt you. Robertson, maybe they're saying, hey, they want him to play the slot. Now you'd have Surtain as 1, Davis the 2, Emmanuel Mosley depth, Robertson depth, depth or slot, I guess. And Brian Branch would be slot or safety. And then I guess maybe you can move some of these guys to safety too. Brian Branch, iffy. Kirby would be your probably top 3 for the safeties, but it doesn't mean somebody else couldn't be your number 4 safety as well. So I can see if they go more and more that route where the safeties and the corners are basically intermixing on plays and not really, position specific, then why not do it? Because all across the board, you're going to put 5 to 6 dudes out there that can cover and cover real well. And man, you got to get somebody open against the blitz, either that or your quarterback's toast. And if somebody's not getting open, your quarterback's toast. I guess that would be my logic with it. Hey, man, thanks, Dan, for always keeping us informed, brother. Hey, no worries, man. I enjoy this stuff, man. All right, Jay, hell no. All right, fair enough. George, the past 3+ seasons show that Brad Holmes is always looking to improve the team. I agree. And normally I would say this doesn't make much sense other than the fact that how do you keep all those draft picks on the team? I think you got to do something to get rid of them and get value from it, or you're not going to keep them. All right, Brent, no, exclamation point, too pricey for sure. Fair enough. Keithel, I don't know about that. Fair enough. Pierce, it's win now time. I say go for it. I'm with you, man. You got a limited window of opportunity. I'm going to say this, just because contracts will start really coming up next year, and then the following year and the year after that because you've drafted so well. So let's just say you've got basically a 2 to 3 year window. This would fit with that, in my opinion, but it's okay to have your own too. One funky haters. I've been saying that for a few months now. Fair enough. All right. Brent, Too much draft capital. Brad with draft capital is worth more. I'll go with that. But again, in this scenario, you don't lose the amount of draft picks. It's just the positions and where they're at. So I guess if Brad Holmes really feels like he can strike gold consistently in the 4th, 5th, and 6th round, 7th round, etc., then maybe it's not a big deal for him. Hater's House, move up for Latua, and pass rush is dominant, 100%. I would agree with that. I like the kid. Pierce, but I do want Jackson Powers Johnson. I do too, and I think in 2 of the 3 mock drafts we've done, the Lions have snagged them. So that could be the way they go, maybe in the 1st round, and then 2nd round trade up for Nealand or whoever. All right, Michael, One Pride, make it happen. I'm down with that. Pierce, I'm torn. I do admit, but the window is now. I agree. Yeah, don't let too many windows go by. Otherwise, you could be the 49ers. You're always the bridesmaid and never the bride. All right, Pierce, before this current class commands money, yeah, this class, the next class. I mean, and therein lies the problem, Pierce. At some point, you're going to start losing some of these guys because you can't pay them all, and that's the tough part. All right, George, Denver is basically in shambles and could be desperate. Time to pounce. That's where I think this is coming from. So it's not just the Detroit Lions talking to him. It's a multitude of teams talking to him. Somebody, I think, is going to make an offer they can't refuse. Denver can't refuse. Trey, your window is now, and I'm pretty sure Brad knows this as well. I agree. Do what you need to put yourself over the hump. I agree. Yeah, and again, yeah. I mean, I guess you could go with the stance. I guess you could have the opposite opinion that you could be the Green Bay Packers. Always draft well, always have fresh bodies coming in, but that just never gets you to the Super Bowl. I mean, the last time they've been there, and yes, they've won it where we haven't, but they've been there and won it twice in, I don't know, 30, 40 years or something like that. So I think at some point you have to decide who you are as an organization. Clearly you can draft, but can you do enough to get to the Super Bowl and win it? And that's why I think this trade would make sense. If you don't, hey, you just keep drafting well, then maybe you just wait for the cards to go your way. But I mean, that's at least my philosophy. I'd be aggressive. I'm going for it. I'm putting my chips into the middle of the table. Michael, Super Bowl or bust 100%. Where's Donkey Kong when you need him, man? Patrick, I hope this deal happens. It would go a long way in the Lions not losing any home games. This is our den. We need to rule here. I agree with that. Agreed. All right, George, good point about the 7 spots available on the roster. Yeah, because you look across the team and you try to do the math. Who's here? Who's there? Like when they signed Cam Sutton, I really don't think he's going to make the 53-man roster. Will Harris's time here in Detroit is probably done, not coming back. You look at the offensive line depth, the wide receiver depth, the running back depth. You go through the entire roster. It's going to be damn tough to get down to 53, people. And then however many guys you're going to stash on the practice squad. So I just think, man, that's where the problem becomes with those draft picks. You can draft great, but can you keep them? And if you know you're going to lose them, why draft them? Why not trade up to get specific needs? At least that's what I'm thinking. All right, Robert. Woo! 100%. One funky. 76 is the pick. 10 is the 3rd round. Yes. Okay. Thanks for that, man. I wasn't sure. I knew it had to be close to the 4th. All right. One funky. Maybe 12. All right. Fair enough. Scott, you're saying you're unconcerned about Surtain? Yeah, I've got no problems with the man. I think for what you're going to be asking him to do, he's going to be fine, man. He's going to be lights out there. He's going to be as close to a lockdown as we're going to be able to get. And I know, Carlton Davis III is going to say he is a lockdown corner. Great. You got 2. And in most of the league, there are very few teams that have 1. I would say there's 6 teams that have a real true nowadays number 1 corner. And that you could potentially have 1 and then a 1B. Man, that's nice. Brother Ken, we cannot start this season starting a rookie cornerback. Make the deal. Yeah, and it just very, very few. I would say less than 3% of cornerbacks when they come into the league actually do meaningful stuff out there. I mean, you guys got it. You watched NFL football long enough. It's rare when it happens. It doesn't mean it can't happen. But I think, Brad talks about going with who somebody can do it. I think most of the league would agree Patrick Surtain Jr. can do it. Matthew, thanks for the info. Anytime, man. J-Rod, Surtain coach, question mark, in Hallelujah Blue, question mark. Woo! Yeah, and again, just to make sure I'm clear, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not going to say, hey, it's going to happen in 15 minutes or anything. I'm saying there are two known conversations between the teams this week. I'm going to say that it is clear the Denver Broncos are shopping this guy around to a multitude of teams, not just the Detroit Lions. I'm also telling you what the current chatted about price for this trade would be. If you were not here earlier, here, I'll repeat it. Hold on a second. Let me pull it back up. Detroit would give up pick 29, 61, 73. The Lions in return would get Surtain, pick 76, 145, and a 2025 sixth round pick. So there you go. We'll see what shakes. All right, Keito. I would try and trade for Josh Allen from the Jags. There you go, man. That would be nice, man. I don't know if we have enough draft capital for both, but hey, that would be nice. Matthew, top 5 defense next 4 years. I would say, yeah, we're gonna have to come up with t-shirts and all that stuff. Where's Anthony when you need him, man? Because yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to everybody about coming up with, if this goes down, we're gonna have to come up with a name for that defense. Because man, I get in the late 70s, early 80s, we had the Silver Rush. You've had other ones. You're gonna have to come up with a new name because I think this defense, man, it's going to be fun to watch if this goes down. Might be fun anyways, though. J-Rod, no fly zone. There you go. Robert, let's see. Got to love that thumbnail pick, Keitho. There you go. I'll have to check it out. Oh, the Kool-Aid. Yes, I see it now, man. All right, Michael, Surtain, Davis, Branch, Iffy, and Joseph, and the other signings we have. Best secondary I have. All right. You have. I have. It would be the best secondary I've seen in my lifetime for the Detroit Lions, without a shadow of a doubt. Robert, let's see, Keto, G, love it, 100%. Brother Ken, if this goes down, Vegas will probably make us the number 2 team to make the Super Bowl. They got to make this deal, quote, no rookies at the corners. No, and it seems like Brad Holmes would agree with you, Brother Ken, that I think he's aware corners take time to learn the nuances of the game, and that could be an indication with the signings we've had this free agency that in his belief, we're in a win now time zone. We're not here to wait 2 or 3 years for some of those rookies to develop at that spot. DCW777. All right. Seems like a lot, but I would not call this a deep draft other than the first couple rounds. And he is pretty damn good with 2 years left on a rookie contract. I would consider it. Yeah. And I think that's where it goes. Like I said, can he keep 7 draft picks? You got the 2 years on the rookie deal. It does seem to make sense. But again, does somebody outbid you? That's if I'm Denver's general manager, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to get as many people interested in this deal as possible and just let them try to beat each other up, making it happen. Make somebody make an emotional decision versus a calculated decision. Trey, you have to get rid of someone in the draft or a key piece, but I do expect a few trades from Brad Holmes. I would agree. I think there's about a 0% chance we go through the draft or before the draft and not make any trades. I agree with you on that, man. Patrick, I wish Brad on whoever he plays against the Lions. Yeah, I wish bad. Okay, I wish bad upon him. 100%. Yeah, you don't have to be injured forever. You just got to be injured for this game. One Funky, if they did it, they would run out the best prevent defense in the league. Surtain, Davis, Robertson, Mosley, Joseph, Melifanu, and Branch. And that would be fun to see a prevent that could actually work. That's true, man. 100%. I think that's accurate. Matthew, I would hope they could come back up high enough to get Darius Robinson or Nealon. Both of them, I think both of them are very similar. I do think Nealon's more athletic overall, especially when it comes to speed and agility, but I think they're pretty dang similar. Though one real quick thing, Robinson's played better competition overall, so Nealon might take a little bit more time to develop, but that's about it. All right, Mike, what do you got? We can still find guards in later rounds. That's true. And hey, as scores they some of the other younger guys, have they developed to the point where the Lions actually are telling us we feel comfortable with these guys in their current role? That's a key thought too, Michael. All right, J-Rod. Hey, thanks for that, man. Thank you very much for that. Let me give you a little quick flash here. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. Mountain Dew News Coach, thank you. Woo! Let me tell you, tomorrow morning's hot dog and Mountain Dew is on you, and thank you so much. I'll make sure I'll drive out to Bobby's new location and leave her a little tip. All right, Trey, if they don't make this trade, I do see Brad moving up the first round to grab Keon Coleman. He fits Ben Johnson's offense. Hey, that's a good thought there. Very good thought. Keitho, I got the Detroit Lions picture in the background in a stencil. There you go. All right, fair enough. All right, Robert G. Is it a coincidence that Josh Reynolds just signed with the Broncos? Maybe. That part I don't know, man, but you could be onto something. You know, I would do that trade. Me too, man. Me too. Drew, what do you got? Thanks, Dan. Anytime, man. Anytime. Hopefully you're having a great one. One funky. If this trade happens, the Lions don't need any money for the draft. No, they'll have saved quite a bit on the draft, and that now can be converted into perhaps re-signing of players. So I think you're one step ahead, one funky. All right, Raw, we want Surtain. I agree. I think a lot of teams would be, or a lot of Lions fans would be very happy with this. All right, Keitho, Detroit will erupt if we make that trade in the draft. They will, especially if it goes down draft day. Man, can you imagine all the news being centered on Detroit with that? Robert G, the anticipation is so high for the Lions fan wanting that blockbuster trade. I would agree with that. Yeah, you would have – it would be nice to get a bunch of YouTubers together on a cast just talking about it or whoever. But if this goes down, yeah, that would be a mammoth trade. Keito, depth, and you see us last year. Yeah, and you think about if you have this year's secondary last year, ask yourself this. Would the Detroit Lions be in the Super Bowl? And I'm not going to worry about winning it. I'm just going to say, would we have been there? My answer is yes. The offense really isn't vastly changed from last year. You got the same coordinators. 7% of the personnel is the same, and you still have the draft to improve upon it, even though if this goes down, the draft may be less impactful. All right, Raw, we need a legit number one cornerback in Detroit. I would agree. And Davis would be a scary number two corner. All right, Josh, what do you got? Trade for Surtain to Detroit for 2026 first round for draft. All right, maybe they could do that. Maybe. That I'm not privy to. Amik Robertson is not the number one cornerback, nor Carlton Davis. So who do you got as number one then, I guess? Are you saying – wait, you're saying they're not a legit number one. Right now, though, I would say Davis is probably our number one. But to your point, is he that dude? Is he the NFL number one? Probably not. But most of the league right now does not have that guy. In my opinion, there's only about 6 or 7 teams that do have someone like that. All right, Jay Rod, we got Surtain. Buddy thought we were done. I know we are not taking him. You're talking of it. Helps a little bit. I was saying Surtain or Simmons. I believe there are talks. Yeah, and again, I think most of us agree there's talks happening with Denver and everybody in the NFL. Now, will the Lions be the one who outbids everybody else? That I can't answer. 9 Drinks, dang, missed it. What happened? So 9 Drinks, I'm going to guess by now you've probably seen the show, but if not, or I've caught it up. So the Lions are, let's see. Lions are in negotiations. They've had 2 talks with Denver this week. But again, I want to reiterate, so have a lot of teams in the NFL. The Lions, in order to they've allegedly had talks that if they were to trade for Surtain Jr., the Lions would give up pick 29, 61, 73. Lions in return would get Surtain, 70 pick, Denver's pick 76, 145 this year, and Denver's 2025 6th-round pick. So there you go, man. Billy Kid, Surtain would cost a bundle. Yeah, it would be a little bit, but I'll say this. It's not as high as what the word was right before the trade deadline last year. But I also get teams that are looking to acquire people usually have to pay a little bit more than they would in the offseason. So maybe that's some food for all of our thoughts. One funky 9 Drinks, nothing yet. Just a lot of talking to the Broncos about Surtain. Yes, agreed with that. Agreed. All right, 9 Drinks, remember to hit the like button. Yes, if you would, pretty please, sugar on the top. Hit the subscription button if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live. Also, hit that thumbs up button. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I know I didn't get through all the stuff. Sorry about that, guys. It's just Jen just got home. I heard the door shut and all that, so I've been on for 40 minutes anyway, so probably not anything real new I can throw at you in regards to it. But making the push to get to 6,300, about 80 subs away. If you haven't yet subscribed and you're willing to do so, please help out. Also, if you enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up button. Other than that, if there's something else that pops up, I'll probably have to wait till the morning show, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. to get it to you guys because I got to spend some time with Jen. So take care. Enjoy the rest of your days. We'll see you all in the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.